welcome back to day 2 or part 2 maybe, mounting the SU carburetor on my XV500. Slight change of plan, maybe not change of plan, but slight alternation to what I was going originally. Well, actually no, originally I wanted to do it this way. I wanted to use the existing, this part, basically the rubber mount, which is all fucking horrible right now, mounts to the engine intake, and I wanted to use this part, just this part over here, cut this bit off, and then put my metal mount kind of on top of it, not underneath but on top of it, and then weld my contraption. For some reason I went off that idea. I wanted to solid mount it to the engine, but then many of you mentioned, by the way, thank you very guys for all the very useful suggestions, and that's what I was thinking, vibration and heat dissipation, that may be a slight of an issue on the V-twin, especially V-twin. So what I'll achieve with this rubber mount, I'm gonna mount this, cut this horrible part off and mount just this part to the engine, and then that plate goes on top of it. That will give me a bit of vibration, eliminate the vibration problem. It will dampen it up because it is rubber mounted, even though it's quite solid rubber, it's still rubber. And the main thing is heat dissipation. That won't be directly attached to the engine, and heat will not travel through the pipe all the way to the carburetor, which may develop some kind of problems with it in the long run. So that will dissipate heat quite nicely, hopefully, well, insulate heat from the engine, and then that will be on top of it, and that will give me some vibration dampening, which is all the good things. So first thing, I want to salvage this because this part is completely useless now, it just falls apart, no need for it, but I can cut it off, and hopefully that will work. Wish me luck. I was reading a lot on SU forums, on this carb, and old British classic car forums and all that stuff, and this carb can suffer from something called vapor lock. Basically what's happening, very briefly, from what I understood from researching on all of those forums, that is directly mounted onto the engine on your car, right? Or you got a couple of them, or sometimes 4 of them, depends on the engine. And what can happen, the heat dissipates from the engine, travels through over the carb, and that is the float bowl. The petrol sits here, and it kind of travels through this little tube over there to the bottom, the needle of the carb. That's the adjuster for the air and fuel mixture ratio kind of thing. Over here, there's this chamber on the back, because that's the air intake, comes through here, and this way goes to the engine. And somewhere in here, there's this chamber of constant depression or constant vacuum, basically lower pressure, so it creates a suction. That's how it works, so it sucks pretty much all the time. And when the heat dissipates through it, the petrol can near enough boil, maybe not boil, but it creates a steam of petrol, and what happens, it locks, blocks basically that passage over here with the vapor steam kind of thing. And what can happen, once you stop the engine, you need to wait till it cools down, because you won't be able to start again, especially on a hot day. So I'm hoping that having this gasket in between the engine and the actual mounting T-joint pipes will dissipate enough heat for this to stop happening. And obviously there are many other benefits from that, but that one was the main thing that actually made me think about it. These are prone to this. Other than that, they are very simple design and really amazing. I'm actually quite in love with this car right now. So yeah guys, let's make it work. Fingers crossed. Right guys, so there we are at the moment. This is where we stand right now. Tell you what, it took some doing to get them perfectly flat, these guys. Right on the table by hand, you know, with sandpaper, but I think it's worth it because they need to be, obviously there'll be a gasket between the engine and the plastic bit, the rubber bit, and there'll be another gasket between the metal bit and this. I'm going to cut one by hand as well from something suitable, but they need to be as flat as possible so there's no air leaks or anything, obviously. But this is where we are, and I think that is a better option. I'm glad I revisit that this way because I can feel straight away there's some dumping over here while I'm tightening these bolts. That's solid, but there is tiny bit of movement there. I can just feel it by hand, which obviously is a very good thing. And where are we? This way. Oops. There we are. And I'm dropping shit all over the floor. Typical. Luckily I found it. It didn't disappear to a different dimension. There we go. So that was a good move, I think, and from that point, nice, that compresses nicely against it. That means there's enough dumping for vibration in there, so it's going to dissipate the heat nicely, and it provides some kind of dumping support, some kind of rubber mount, which was the main thing. And this part over here is perfect. I can feel they absolutely flush with the intake, the manifold, and both the rubber bits and my metal gasket, my metal plate. Right, I think from that point we need to create a T-joint kind of section. I need to work right now on the link pipe. Whether I do it straight over there or whether I do a little stubby exhaust this way and then join it there, I don't know yet. Let me do some measuring and we'll take it from there. So at this point I'm guessing what I'm going to do next. As simple as that. Let's face it guys, I'm not an engineer, I'm not even pretend I am, it's nowhere near got any engineering background. I'm just a simple guy who likes drinking beer. So at that point I'm guessing what I'm doing. It's a learning curve. I'm not showing you how to do it. Some of you probably know how to do it already and thinking, what a fucking idiot, what is he doing? But anyway, in my simple thinking, this is the distance on the bottom of the holes, yeah? In between the pistons, the engine blocks. This is the width of the, more or less, of the pipe I'm working on. Let's say it's more or less like that, and that's on the top of it. Obviously I need to find right angles here, so it should be square. And from that point we'll see whether I can make it work or not. Make a cardboard template, and we see whether you can make it work. Be very surprised if that's gonna work. Okay, so we're looking at 13 centimeters. This is 7.5. -13 -7. 6, so it's 3 on each end. So it's 3 over here and 3 over here, which should give us that distance more or less. Nice. So I'm guessing the angle in between, I need to cut the pipe, is something like that. Is it anything close to this, or am I just completely missing the point? Let's find out. Mind you, I can always cut it slightly longer and then just finesse it with angle grinder. Let's put it on the bike, see if it works. Right, so it should sit like this. Well, it's not far off, but it's under 5 mil. It's fine at the bottom, but on the top 5 mil, so it needs a sharper angle to get in there. Tell you what, there's probably some clever math equation for it, some kind of algorithm, or even better, some kind of computer software that will do it for you. But I'm not clever like that. I'm drinking beer and try to make it work. What's the worst that can happen, right? I fail. Oh well. We do it again. See how's that working. Let's have a look. Now this one works way better. The angles are right anyway. I know it's all twisted because it's just a piece of paper, but trust me, the angles are pretty much spot on. Obviously it needs slightly adjustment, but the problem is, as I was thinking, because it's cut diagonally over here under the angle, that basically surface becomes larger surface, and it's not gonna fit directly over the hole. You can see it's sticking out way up there. That obviously not gonna work like this, so I need to create one pipe coming up from here on specific angle, obviously, then going straight and then going down again. So we need to go up, straight and down, and that's obviously creating more work for Maki. But you know what, I'm up for the challenge. Enough to practice some welding skills. I got more than enough material to play with it. Let's fucking do it. Right guys, who of you has got a black hole or like a different dimension in their garages? Because I was just cutting basically another piece like this, which I'm working on, from that pipe, and it went down on the floor. And I kid you not, I'm looking for it for a good 15 fucking minutes now. 15 minutes, I moved everything around and I cannot see it anywhere. Yes, I know I've got a couple of bikes in the garage and it's not exactly clean environment and stuff everywhere. But how far a piece like this can go? I mean, I looked everywhere, moved these things around, looked underneath the benches. I'm going crazy. How far thing like this can go? Not very far, obviously. Ugh. Well, anyway, that's another 15-20 minutes of work time in a garage I didn't plan. Right, let me put you down for a minute or maybe another 20 minutes, and I'm gonna keep looking for this little brother. Hey, I found it! I found it! I got two now! Woo! This little guy rolled somewhere in a corner. You know, it was like 5,000 miles away from where I dropped it. But I was in the garage, so I got two now, not to worry. Well, anyway, that's where we are right now. As you can see, it's an angled. One side is straight, the other side is angled like this. They're both identical. So the idea is to put them over here, like this. And that basically what happens here. The angle that I was trying to match previously, I dropped it again. It's not meant to be with me. This time it didn't go too far. Anyway, the angle that was very sharp before, it's not so steep anymore. It's much more gentle. So at this stage, all I need to do is cut it again on this end, create the anchor even better for me to weld together, and join it together, create like a bridge in between. Once it's all tacked welded together and I'm happy with the result, I can tube notch it and create a connection T-joint for the carb to sit on this side. But yeah, that's where we stand right now. All this took probably another 4 or 5 hours, but we get in there. However, it's getting really late right now. It's nearly midnight and I've got some other things to do. So I'm gonna call it a night, and I'll catch you guys tomorrow. Right guys, so from the last clip you've seen, well, just a second ago, it's probably been about 4, maybe even 5 hours of solid work. And the reason there's no footage for it, I switched the camera off because that was driving me crazy. I probably had like two attempts to make that right. On the third one, finally got the angles right, and I really was aiming to get all those angles perfect. And I'm not a professional doing that shit. I don't have specific equipment, you know, circle saws that cut specific angles and straight lines. I've got bench grinder over here, I've got my angle grinder, and I've got hand files. You know, that's all I pretty much was doing. So I took a lot of time finessing that so it fits perfectly well. That's why I wasn't messing about with camera. I forgot about it for a while. I said just focus on this shit, have it done really nice, and then we take it from there. So let me show you what's happening right now, and we take it from there. So there we are, this is where we stand. That's the bike, and that's the little pieces, the little joint over there was making that bridge fit perfectly into those little tabs. That was a challenge and a half. Did put some masking tape on it just to hold it together, because I want to tag weld it now. But believe me when I say they are perfect, there are no gaps in between anywhere. It is as perfect as it can be done, which is very important. The distance between these joints over here as well is exactly right. That was very important for me to do it this way. Just want to have it, you know, welded properly in there with no gaps, no bullshit. And believe me, it looks simple enough, you know, when somebody who knows what they're doing, it probably is very simple. But for me, it took well, the whole together, these pieces and this little tab joints and all together took me just over 10 hours probably of fucking solid work. That proves how very little I know about these things with a simple tools. But it can be done. It can be done. Just a little bit of elbow grease, really. It can be done. Apologies for not showing you the progress, how I was making this all up and messing about with it. But sometimes I just need to switch the camera off and just focus on what I'm doing, especially on a precise job like this, because it needs to be perfect from each side, and each angle needs to be exactly the same. And I'm no professional. I don't have pipe notcher, tube notchers over here. I don't have specific band saws and angle grinders, you know, that just cut things on a specific angles. I don't have that. Everything is done by hand, and most of that things was been done cut by angle grinder or a hacksaw, and I'd precise it, you know, finesse it by hand files, sandpaper, again angle grinder. You know, it's a really long process. It's not exactly professional, it's not exactly precise. And yes, So far I've been fucking about this thing for, yeah, 15 hours. 15 hours, and I'm not even halfway there. Professional would do it probably in 3 hours, but I'm no professional. I'm a guy with long hair, covered in tattoos, who drinks beer in his garage and loves working motorcycles, and I share it with you guys. Yeah, it's a long process, but it's very satisfying. Looking at it right now, yeah, I need to tack weld it and fucking make a good job out of it. But I'm happy with what I've seen so far. Hope that's a little bit of motivation for some of you guys. You don't need to have professional tools, you don't need to have professional environment, you know, in the garage. Just dedication and a bit of time, you can achieve pretty good results, I think. So yeah, before I tack weld it in place, I need to practice on the leftovers I've got over here. I need to get the settings on the welder right, so I don't blow holes, I can get a nice penetration through it, and I can get nice and smooth welds around it. So I'm gonna do this for the next couple of hours, just fuck about with this piece and the other piece I've got over there, just to make sure when I actually get to the job, it's perfect. I don't practice an actual piece, because it took me 15 hours to make it right. I know it's a long time, but still. I'm gonna practice this thing and a couple of other pieces, and once it's ready, tacked and welded, I'm gonna switch you back on and show you the progress. Cheers. Oh yeah.